What's up, YouTube? Colin Stuckert here, the Wild CEO, back for another Ancestral Mind video. 7 principles of living wild is what we're going to talk about today. Now, this is a holistic approach to the basics of health, fitness, weight loss, fat loss, whatever your goals are. Living and being a healthy human are going to start with these fundamentals. So let's just dive into the 7 principles of living wild. I'm going to go through the PDF here, which is actually available at theancestralmind.com. You can download that for free. And so I'm not going to read the beginning here. Let's just kind of go through this. The most important thing is always real food. Nutrition based on real food as close to nature as possible, avoiding the modern processed, highly palatable, refined foods that have become the bulk of our food system, and going back to real raw ingredients that you're preparing at home, ideally cooking yourself. That's the key to real food nutrition. I don't have a lot of time to spend on this because this is a huge topic, and I've done tons of videos on this, and I plan to do a lot more. These main points right here you can see are really the most important thing. It's number 1 for all of health because food is one of the most prevalent ways we interact with our environment and is one of the most important factors in longevity. Food and sleep and stress are kind of the big 3, the trinity that you need to get right. But for a lot of people that are really consuming poor quality foods on a regular basis, like that's the most important thing you have to get right. You have to get that right, or everything else that you're trying to do is going to be circumvented, right? Like if you're eating a lot of sugar and grains, things like that, well, it's going to cause inflammation. It's going to mess with your sleep. It's going to mess with your bowel movements, like your gut health, like which is connected to everything. So you get sick more often. Real food is the most important thing. I got an action step here. Go to your pantry, throw out anything with sugar and grains. If you did that today, that'd be a huge win. And don't buy it again. Don't put that crap in your fridge or in your pantry ever again. All right. So like I said, big topic. See some of my other videos, links below. Go to my channel. You'll find plenty on that. I go into that more in depth. Let's get to number 2. Number 2, sleep. Sleep is, in some cases, equally or more important than food, especially if you're getting no sleep. Like if sleep's a big problem for you, that's going to be huge to take care of. Sleep plus nutrition are very complementary. So when you get more sleep, you eat better. When you eat better, you get more sleep. So they're very intertwined, and it's really hard to put a ranking on this, but sleep is up there with one of the most important aspects of health and longevity. I got some tips here. Sleep in a pitch black room, use a sound machine, light, and using the F.Lux app, that's a huge one. Getting orange bulbs, that's a huge one. I've done other videos on this. You can also just like Google, sleep hacks or whatever. Some of the information is good, some of it's not. So I'd really recommend going to the Ancestral Mind and getting this download and just sticking to what's here. Blackout curtains, those are huge. Number 3, movement. Now, we all get this. They say eat less, move more. Aside from the eating part, we do need to move more. Humans are designed to move. We would have moved all the time in nature. We would have moved to find food. We would have moved for fun. We would have played. We would have done all kinds of things that made us move in different ways on a regular basis consistently. Okay, we had our leisure time, yes, but we also moved way more than we do today. Now imagine how much you move an average day. You go down to, like, for example, I'm looking at a parking garage right here. My car is parked over there. I go down this elevator, or I ideally take the stairs, which is what I usually do. Walk down, walk to my car, get in my car, sit 15 minutes, I'm home, get out of my car, walk to my front door, walk around a little bit, and then maybe find myself on the couch or in a computer chair, or, probably playing with my son, so there's a little bit of movement there. It's just very limited. Imagine walking miles a day. They say our ancestors used to walk about 13 to 15 miles a day on average. 13 to 15 miles a day. Most people walk an average, I think the average today is like a mile a day. And that's through your whole freaking day. And some people walk even less than that. Imagine those times where you've literally just like stayed home all day and did nothing. You walk from your fridge to your couch. We're talking like less than 100 steps. Computer, fridge, couch, bathroom. That's it. We need to move more. Not only will this help burn calories, but it also improves gut digestion. It improves inflammation. It makes us happier. There's all this research that has been done and that has yet to be done on just how important movement is for the human animal. It's a first principle of health. So number 4 is one not many people talk about. Getting outside in nature. We came from nature. We belong in nature, yet I'm in this box, right? And so we get a lot of environmental mismatch. There's tons of benefit to being in nature. There's a lot of research even being done in Japan with forest bathing, where you basically just go out and you're in the forest for an hour and you just soak up the sights, the sounds, the smells, and it improves everything. It's like a meditative practice, but it's also a health practice because of all those reasons. There's research done showing that hearing the birds chirping is good for your mental health. Like, if you think about it, it makes sense. We've been born into the wild for hundreds of thousands of years, and only recently have we started to be born into artificial environments like hospitals with beeps and bells and artificial lights and everything. It's a complete and utter mismatch. I got some tips here for doing that, of course. And then vitamin D is the other big thing. I just did a video on the 3 biggest fat loss mistakes, things that people are not really counting for in their fat loss journey. And this is really just health in general too. Vitamin D is one of them. Vitamin D is imperative for weight loss because it's imperative for a whole host of natural processes in your body. It's imperative for being healthy. And not having vitamin D is connected with a lot of obesity. And as obesity has risen, lower vitamin D levels have risen as well. There's tons of charts you can see on this. Okay. Vitamin D is something we would have gotten on a regular basis because we lived outside. The sun would come up and we'd be up and we'd be moving. The key is to get direct sunlight on your skin. Every single day, aim to get 15 or so minutes of direct sunlight in your skin. Ideally, as much of your skin as possible, right? So like, don't just go out and get your face exposed. Maybe take your shirt off. If you have a big backyard, go naked, etc. These are things that are, again, based on our ancestors' past. They're the reason we need it today. And if you can't go outside, maybe the weather's bad or the sun's been coming out, grab a good vitamin D2K3 supplement, D3K2, excuse me. We actually have the wild vitamin D3 and K2 over at wildfoods.co. Make sure you use code WILDCEO for 12% off your order if you decide to get that. I use that on days where either I'm not feeling too great and it's just going to help me wake up, kind of give me a little bit of support regardless of whether I'm going to go outside or not. I'm going to still try to go outside. And some days I don't really get to go outside as much as I want. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't. And I take that as my backup. Principle number 5. This is another one that you would think wouldn't be on a list of the first principles of human health, but it is intermittent fasting. So let me just read this. This is a good one. Humans are not designed to eat 3 square meals a day, or really to eat on any kind of fixed schedule. Now, why is that? Well, because if you go in the wild, you don't have grocery stores. You don't have food processing. You have no idea where your next meal is going to come from. So you have to go out and you have to look and you have to track and you have to hunt and you have to forage. And then you would have food. And sometimes you wouldn't have food. Or sometimes you'd go out and you would hunt and you wouldn't be successful. In fact, a lot of observed hunter-gatherer groups are successful hunting 10 to 15% of the time. Now, different environments might be different. For example, the Buffalo Plains, or not the Buffalo, but the Plains Indians that hunted the buffalo pretty much could go out every single day and probably find huge slabs of meat. But different environments, whether that's in the Kalahari Desert where you have Bushmen, in Africa, the Inuit, which I don't know the success rates of the Inuit. You know, it's a harsh climate, but there is a lot of fish and there's usually animals you can find. But again, we would not have been successful hunting 100% of the time. We wouldn't have even been successful foraging 100% of the time. So there would have been periods of time where we would go without food. Maybe it's a long period of time. Maybe winter just rolled in and everything is scarce, you know, and we're just not on top of our foraging and hunting game, or we're just being a little bit too lazy or whatever. We could go a whole week without food. This is why intermittent fasting has been shown to be universally beneficial for human health. There is a ton of research on this. It also just makes sense. It's common sense if you think back to our evolutionary past. So I consider intermittent fasting and ideally going periods of time without food on a regular basis, mixing up your meals, whether it's a 16-8, a 24-4, 1 meal a day, maybe going a whole week without fasting. Again, consult your doctor if you do that. Go multiple day fasting, 1 day, 24 hours. There's a lot of different ways to do it. But the constant is mixing it up and making it variable is going to provide a health benefit. Intermittent fasting is a first principle of human biology. This is not just a way to lose weight, right? It can actually help you gain weight if you're trying to build muscle. Intermittent fasting improves insulin sensitivity and helps with GH production and all these other amazing things in your body. So if you're trying to put on muscle, you want to utilize intermittent fasting. And before I move on, I will say one of the common misconceptions of intermittent fasting is it's the same as calorie restriction. Now, you can have a long fast where it's like 4 to 7 days or even a 2-day fast. Obviously, you're going to calorie restrict because you're eating no calories. But a 16-8 window, which is what I do every single day, is basically waking up, skipping breakfast or whatever schedule you want, pushing my first meal back later. Like I'm going to have my first meal in probably 2 hours, and I will have completed a 16-hour fast from yesterday when I haven't had any food. Then I'm going to have my feeding window between about 4 to 8 hours where I'm going to eat 2 meals. And then I'm going to stop eating again and repeat the process. Notice how that in that 8-hour window, I can eat whatever amount of calories I want. I could eat 10,000 calories or 1,000 calories. That has nothing to do with the fact that I've had a long fasting window. That's the difference between calorie restriction and intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting actually has nothing to do with calorie restriction. You can use it to calorie restrict, but it's primarily nothing to do with it. All right, so let's get to number 6. All right, number 6, social. Humans are social creatures as a result of our evolutionary past. The better we could work together in the wild, the better chances we had at surviving and raising offspring. This is the niche that Homo sapiens sapiens, which is you and I, the only surviving hominid, modern anatomical human that is alive today, we are the only surviving of all of the species that have since died out. Neanderthal, all the other ones, Homo erectus, etc. This is because our big brains allowed us to work together, to hunt together, and to share, and to build a very fiercely egalitarian society, which moved us to the top of the food chain and made us the apex predator. Humans are wired to be social. And there's tons of research showing that the more lonely we are, the more isolated we are, the more depression we have, suicide rates, etc. There's a lot here. Not really time for today's video, but this is one of those very underappreciated, under-discussed, underutilized techniques for living a better life. Having a good community and being social and making sure you spend time with your friends and family instead of just I fall victim to this too. I got stuff to do, CEO, got a 16-month-old, a million things to do, a million things I want to do in life. It's hard to schedule time with friends and family and to set aside. I mean, maybe they live far away, maybe got to drive. It's usually a very big commitment of time, but it's important. And even now talking about this right now, I feel like I got to reach out to some people, make it happen. Number 7. So that was really the 6 principles. Number 7 is kind of a bonus principle, and it's more for modern everyday life because I found that the more I have this in my life, the more self-awareness I have, which is the bonus principle number 7, the better off I do in business, relationships, understanding my mistakes, understanding my failings, understanding where I'm being dogmatic or biased. Having self-awareness is your literal meal ticket to a better life. If you want to make more money, you need to have self-awareness. If you want to have better relationships, you need to have self-awareness. It needs to always be coming back to what can I control? What am I doing or not doing? And really, truly understanding what I want and what my motivations are. It's amazing how many people in life don't really know who they are or what they want. They just kind of float through life. They do things based on what people around them tell them they should or shouldn't do. And then they wake up and they're 50 years old and they're in some job they hate and they're in a sexless marriage. Maybe they have a couple kids. That's great, but they don't spend enough time with them. And they're overall miserable. And this is not uncommon. This is more common, and I wouldn't say it's the most common thing, but this is more common than it should be in our modern world, where we have all this time and all these this automation and resources and all these things that we can do to take control over our life, but we don't. We get sucked into distractions, or we get sucked into politics or debating or drama or whatever. It's a shame, really. And I could go on and on about this topic, but I want to keep this video and or podcast. I'm not sure where I'm going to put this just yet. I want to keep this short and succinct. So get this PDF over at theancestralmind.com. It's going to be right on the homepage. Download it. And I'll give you one more bonus principle. I forgot I had another one in here. Bonus principle number 8, an action bias. Now, this is more of a productivity thing, but it's also applicable to just anything in your life. If you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to improve your diet, if you're trying to find a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever it is, when you have a bias towards action, you will accomplish more and you can level up the things you're trying to reach in life. Every single thing in your life that you want, that you don't yet have, is going to be achieved through action. Sometimes even just thinking about something and then adding a very simple to-do list to think about it again later, that itself is an action. That itself is forward momentum. It's not always you have to go outside and do this big thing. A lot of times you just have to make small steps to keep yourself accountable and keep yourself moving forward towards the things that you want. There is nothing in life that is constant. If you look into the law of entropy and regression to mean and all these principles of just the universe and energy transfer and all these things, when you do nothing, you stagnate. And stagnation is actually not even staying in the same place. Stagnation is actually devolving. It's losing. It's dying. So as a human being, as a living organism, we have to go out and actively move and pursue. Otherwise, we will fall to entropy and we will waste away into nothingness. Imagine being bedridden for 6 months and then you wake up and you have no muscles left in your legs because you literally haven't taken a step in 6 months. Nature does not allow for doing nothing. And that law applies to everything. Your finances, your relationships, time with your kids, everything. A new project, goals, whatever. You have to take action. You have to take action. You have to take action. And it has to be consistent. So there's a lot of different rabbit holes here. And the thing with life in general is it's a multi-prong approach. And I know that is not really what you probably want to hear. Most people don't want to hear because it takes effort. It takes building habits. It takes years in some cases to really get this stuff down because there's so many things, right? And I get that. I understand that. I've been doing this entrepreneur thing for 13 years. I've been working on my health since I was 17. I'm 34 now. Man, Just saying that, actually. Holy crap. This stuff takes a long time. And I still have goals. I still have things I want to accomplish. I'm still not where I want to be, financially, certain things in my health, etc. Embrace the long haul. Focus on the basics. And what I should say is, all that being said, if you focus on these big first principles and you really dive into these and make these the foundation of what you're trying to do in your life, everything else gets easier. I'm telling you, everything else gets easier. And most people, what they need in life, whether it's health or goal setting or whatever, they need simplicity, and they need focus on that simplicity. Thanks for watching and or listening to this short show on the 7 Principles of Living Wild. Make sure you like and subscribe where you find this. Turn that notification bell on. If it's a podcast, subscribe. Leave us a review. Leave us a comment. Send us an email to colin@wildfoods.co. I will answer every single email that comes in. If you have questions, if you have comments, if you have recommendations, whatever it is. And make sure you go over and get the 7 Principles of Living Wild PDF over at theancestralmind.com. You'll also get the Friday AM 5 newsletter, which I just started about 2 weeks ago, and I'm really proud of it. It's a short, simple email modeled after Tim Ferriss's 5 Bullet Friday, which you may or may not have seen. And it's just got some content I've been thinking about lately, or some new content I've put out. It's just a really good place to kind of stay up to date with some of these ideas, get tips for life, get some motivational quotes, whatever. And it helps us establish a relationship so that we can build and grow together, because that's what I want for anybody that is following any of my content. I want to be able to help you make changes in your life, so then you can then pass on that knowledge to your children, and hopefully we can change the world for a better place for my son's generation, because right now the trends are really against us and things are not going in the right direction. All right. Thanks for listening and or watching.